presentation to you. And if we are all together on that document, on Annex 1, I would like to state at the outset, Mr. Chairman, sir, that we have about 4,000 officers dedicated to the protection of VIPs and VVIPs across the country. And many of them come from the SGB formation, which looks after government buildings, government installations, or what in the police terms we call CIPU, the Critical Infrastructure Protection Unit. And this includes the airports, our critical entry points, critical installations across the country. But the protection of His Excellency the Deputy President and the protection of His Excellency the President is a separate matter. Mr. Chairman, I would like to be on record on this matter. His Excellency the President and His Excellency the Deputy President are protected by a special formation we call the Presidential Escort Unit. This unit is trained, prepared, and their single or singular responsibility is to protect the presidency and protect the President and His Excellency the Deputy President. If you look at the diagram that I've given you, and I've left out so many details for obvious reasons because it's a document that is going to be exposed to the public. If you look at the protection of the Deputy President in terms of its infrastructure, is a multi-layered endeavor. The layer that is critical to us is the inner layer, which is essentially the core security ecosystem for His Excellency the Deputy President. And this is occupied by the Presidential Escort Unit. Currently, His Excellency the Deputy President has got 74 officers, that layer, who provide 24/7 protection of His Excellency the Deputy President. And if I didn't remove the details on this, if I had brought the actual architecture as it's drawn and presented by security people, which I can't because this is an open meeting for obvious reasons, we normally say that the protection is given regardless of where, when, how, and so on. The Presidential Escort is dedicated to protecting the Deputy President when he's seated, standing, lying down, moving 24/7. And he has got 74 officers dedicated to this under the command of a Commissioner of Police. There's a Commissioner of Police dedicated to this, assisted by one Senior Superintendent of Police and 2 Chief Inspectors of Police. By tradition and by law, that is how the holders of that office are protected. Mr. Chairman, I have taken the trouble to demonstrate to you, because I went back to the records, and if you look at the document, you have marked Annex 2. I have taken the trouble to demonstrate to you that the holders of that office have been protected before from that unit. I have shown you the strength of personnel that protected that office before, and I've shown you the highest rank of command that managed that protection before. You will notice at the end of that document that the current holder of that office has got the highest number of personnel to be ever assigned in that office, and also the highest ranking police officer to command that protection of the current holder of the office. Because Honorable Jaramogi Oginga Odinga had 30 officers. Honorable Joseph Murumbi had 22. Honorable Daniel Arap Moi had 34. Honorable President Mwai Kibaki had 26. The Honorable Josephat Karanja, 22. Honorable the late Professor George Saitoti, 30. Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, 22. And Honorable Michael Kijana Wamalwa, 22. Honorable Mudi Awori, 22. Honorable Raila Odinga although he did not occupy that office when he was Prime Minister, had 57, and Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka 26. The current holder of that office, the Honorable His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, has got 74. And you notice that throughout the period, the highest ranking officer protecting that office was a chief inspector. But in the current case, we have a commissioner of police, we have a senior superintendent of police, and 2 chief inspectors commanding this unit. This is the unit that provides the core protection or the core management of the security of His Excellency the Deputy President. But I'm going to demonstrate to you shortly, again, using these documents, that this office is allocated even more officers than those ones. I want to emphasize one point, that contrary to what has been going around in public spaces and comments and some irresponsible discussions that the Deputy President doesn't have protection, he does have protection, because the team that protects the Deputy President is the presidential escort, not the outer ring. But before I come to the numbers, let's go to the same document, Annex 1, and look at the second layer of protection for His Excellency the Deputy President. If you look at that, in the current case, we have layer 2. This layer 2 is the outer security layer, which brings together officers from the SGB, officers from the prison service, officers from the critical infrastructure protection unit, and this has got 121 personnel dedicated to His Excellency the Deputy President. And these people operate on 24-hour support. I am only talking about personnel. I'm not even listing the assets that we have allocated for the office of the Deputy President. So if you go to layer 2, you have 121 officers looking after the Deputy President. Bear in mind, Mr. Chairman, I need to emphasize this again. Please, honorable members, take note. In layer 1, we have the presidential escort team that is led by Mr. Yampoi. In addition to the 74 officers there, we have a dedicated team of GSU officers, 5 in number, highly trained. I would not want to go into any details about this for obvious reasons. We have 5 GSU officers because His Excellency the Deputy President is driven by GSU officers. And that is why it is actually frustrating to hear people saying GSU was withdrawn from His Excellency the Deputy President. In addition to that, the Deputy President has got 6 DCI officers. So in that inner layer, you have 74 from the presidential escort, you have 5 from GSU, and you have 6 from DCI, a total of 85 officers. That is the inner layer